Welcome to another edition of the Gold Noles Podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me and my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. The instant reaction episode was my 500 episode. I appreciate people that have supported me over the years by listening to this podcast. When I first started trying to do this, it was never a thing where I wanted to be famous or make money. It was just a hobby, an outlet, just to have something to do, more or less. You know, Florida State football I'm passionate about, and that's it. Now, I've got a little bit of a following, nothing I would deem significant in terms of the numbers, very significant in terms of the people who subscribe and follow this podcast on whatever platform. I really do appreciate it. So thank you again. I'll keep doing this as long as I can. There's no monetary motivation. There's no famous motivation. It's just a fan just like you that enjoys watching this team win games. That's pretty much it. So with that being said, we can talk about Syracuse. Well, before I do that, somehow, some way, and this is neither here nor there, I just wanted to say it. Somehow, some way, the service I use to distribute my podcast has miscounted my episodes. So they're saying that my last episode was $4.99. No, it's $500. So if somehow we can fix that, I know that they review podcasts to make sure there's no copyright infringement. So if y'all could please review that and correct those numbers, I would greatly appreciate it. So Syracuse week, and I mean, it's the same story with Syracuse, man. The last couple of years, they start out really hot, and they fade. They start losing, and each of those times, Florida State has been lucky to catch them when they've started losing. We didn't really catch them within the winning streak. But again, this is another week where you deal with a very mobile quarterback, a big quarterback, and you did a pretty good job of containing the Virginia Tech quarterback last week. But that game was closer than it should have been. I mean, we were up 22-0. Virginia Tech scored 17 unanswered points. To me, that's coaching. That's not keeping your team locked in. Okay? And, that's going to come back to bite you if you don't fix it. I think we have enough talent on this roster to get to the playoff. I'm not going to say win the playoff. I think we definitely have enough talent to win the ACC. But it's just a question of, can we do what we're supposed to do? It really doesn't matter to me what other teams do. If Florida State goes out and play Florida State football, offense, defense, special teams, I don't think there's anyone in the ACC that can beat us. And I'm going to just flat out say that. Because, I mean, we've seen what this team is capable of when they're just like, okay, we ready to fight. We're ready to do whatever it takes to win this game. I mean, we seen it in the LSU game. That's really the only time we've seen it this year. I'm not going to count Southern Miss because they're not even on Florida State's level. Maybe they were a couple years ago, but not now. So I'm not even going to count that game. I think that LSU game where they just said, okay, we're going to take over and dominate this game. And I think you've seen it a little bit in the Virginia Tech game. Okay? We have to run the football. This team is damn near unbeatable when we run the football with Benson. So that has to happen. Like I said, Marquise Douglas to me is your best lead blocker, and the fact that you're not using him in that role, I don't understand it. I mean, I've seen him out there a couple times, but the guy is 6'8", 280. Like who's gonna get in front of him and try to take him on? So, and then I like number 84 too. He's a good receiving tight end. He looks very athletic. I guess that's why he's pretty much getting the start over Douglas. But Douglas, I mean, he's just got some of the softest hands on this team in terms of catching the football. I mean, he's a proven commodity in terms of catching the football. So I just don't understand why he's not being utilized more. I mean, the receivers are the receivers. I mean, they're playing great. Johnny Wilson got injured. I hope he's okay. I've been following it on the internet. He sent out a social media post saying he was good. So hopefully he's going to play this week. But, I mean, we have a number of wideouts that can step in. And, you know, I would like to just see more of those guys. Hakeem Williams, Deuce Spann, Williamson, Portier. I want to see more of those guys. I just think last year we were more multiple in terms of the receivers that we use. Even Destin Hill. Destin Hill got some action in the Virginia Tech game. He's a playmaker. He's destined to be, no pun intended, he's destined to be a great receiver at the school. And like I said, my favorite player on the team right now is Rodney Hill. Okay? That's my favorite player on the team right now. I just love his running style. He reminds me of Roger Craig back in the day for my boys, the San Francisco 49ers, with his running style. The way he runs with the high knees, that's who he reminds me of. So I think he's got a tremendous future. I love that, the in-game adjustments is still not there yet. The in-game adjustments has to be faster. Offense, defense, special teams. They have to be faster. You won this game because you're more talented. You didn't win because you outcoached Virginia Tech. You won this game based on talent. If the talent was equal, I think Virginia Tech could have almost won this game. So we have to get to a point where I'm with getting in guys' face. Okay? When Norvell screamed at Deuce Spann last season, I loved it. We need more of that. You know, Norvell I think he has the potential to be a great coach, but sometimes he just comes off as passive because some of these things that happens in these games happens over and over and over again throughout the game. So, you know, for me, I just need a little bit more fire from this guy. Right? And I'm on the Norvell train, dog. I am. Originally I was not, but he has won me over. So I want this guy to be successful. He's proven to be a fantastic recruiter, a fantastic offensive mind. It's just that getting your team to stay focused for 60 minutes, and making the in-game adjustments faster will go a long way for me, you know, just saying, okay, hands down, we the best team in the country. Um, so that's in this Syracuse game. That's what I want to see. I think we have better talent. I think we're better coached, and we should win this thing going away. But I just think with the lapse in focus, it's going to be a closer game. I think it's going to be 31-17, something like that. But to me, you have to get this running game going. That creates a environment on the football field where everyone benefits. The defense, the special teams, when you can get that running game going and chew up the clock, it really, really, really helps this whole football team, go out and dominate. The running game has to be the focal point of the offense. I know you got those big physical receivers, Wilson and Coleman, but, I just think a lot of the success that we've had in the last 15, 16 games is because of the running game and the addition of Trey Benson. Physical running back, breaks tackles, very fast, and he needs to touch the ball 15 to 20 times a game, just running between the tackles. That has to be the starting point for the offense. Syracuse is a very interesting team. They run that 3 wide receiver deal on offense. You got a very mobile quarterback in Schrader. And, they can present problems for us. I'm not just going to sit here and say this is going to be a slam dunk win, man. I think ultimately we win the game, but I think it's going to be a close game. We've had some issues with mobile quarterbacks, so I don't know. I'm not an expert. I can obviously sit here and say spying, but that takes, one man out of coverage, so you could potentially have somebody wide open. Obviously, the next solution is to say, hey, your pass rush has got to dominate. Your defensive line has to dominate. I mean, that's easier said than done. Drones got loose last week against Florida State, the defense. And I'm pretty sure Syracuse is looking at that film and they're saying, okay, we feel like our quarterback is a little bit more athletic than this guy. We can do some more stuff. So just all around, offense, defense, special teams, the adjustments to what teams have decided to do against Florida State have not been fast enough. Maybe I'm just wrong about how I view the game. I just feel like if you're a professional coach, I feel like if you're a coach at the collegiate level, you're a professional. You should be able to diagnose those things very quickly and make adjustments. That's how I feel. I don't think it should take a whole first half to diagnose and adjust. Okay? I'll just say, for example, Kyle Shanahan, San Francisco 49ers head coach, my favorite team, one of my favorite teams. I think he's a master at adjustments. If the defense is doing something, out of the ordinary, extravagant, whatever, he will I would say within that same drive, he'll make the adjustments. whatever it is. And I would like for Florida State to be able to do the same thing. Now, I know we're talking about two different coaches with two different levels of experience in terms of coaching, but both of these guys, Norvell and Shanahan, are play callers. So when you take on that mantle, you got to be able to make the adjustments. And I think Norvell is a great play caller in certain spots. Shanahan can be a great play caller the whole game. Now, in big games, that's when I have issues with Shanahan. But Norvell is a pretty good play caller if the game is going well. If it's not Florida State out in front or in great situations, then you kind of see, the not so great play calling. I know we played some pretty good defenses the first 4 games, but there's no reason that Trey Benson's numbers should have been the way that they've been. Now, I will say in the LSU game, when they put Bell in the backfield and they was running that action where he was the lead blocker, that was an adjustment that I liked. And I haven't seen that formation since. So, if you try to run the single back stuff and it's not working, you got some pretty big guys at tight end that can be lead blockers that can help open up the running game. And I feel like that's what you have to go to if you're trying to, dominate. And we don't just want to win, we want to dominate. And history has shown over the last 15, 16 games that when we get this running game going, we're pretty hard to beat. When our defense is well rested, we're pretty hard to beat. So I like that recipe, and it's a recipe that we have to continue. If we when and if we get to these championship games, ACC, college football playoff, national championship, if we get there, I'm telling you, the running game is gonna have to be a integral part of what we're trying to do. As much as I like those big time receivers, those big receivers, some defenses are gonna challenge you. They're gonna put 8, 9 in the box. And, that's what they did in the Clemson game. They just basically said, hey, Trey Benson's not going to beat us. But I think you still have to run the football. I still think that you have to go, hey, let's put Marquise and Douglas in the backfield and let's run dive play, off tackle play, right up the middle, out to, left, right, whatever. You have to run those plays. So I just think that, we have to get to a point where the running game is the main focus. Defensively, for Florida State, the defensive line has to dominate. In particular, the defensive tackles. I expected more from Lovett and Fisk. I really did. I really do. Farmer, Fisk, Lovett, all them guys. Patrick Payton has flashed in spots just like he did last season. I just need more consistency from him because I'll just go out. I think from a talent perspective in terms of pass rushing, I think he's the best on the team. I think Jared Verse is just more physical. He's more complete at the moment, but I think as Patrick Payton matures into that body and adds more bulk and gets stronger, I think he's going to be the better pass rusher. I think his upside is a little bit bigger. But Jared Verse is a great player. Jared Verse is by far the better player, but I think Patrick Payton has a bigger upside because, I've seen him do things that Verse can't do. But he has to get in the weight room. He has to put on more weight. I would love to see him get up to 265. 6'5", 265. And with his pass rushing moves, and I think he could be one of the best to ever do it at Florida State. That's just how I feel about him. But we just need more consistency. But the defensive line, to me, has to dominate. The linebackers have played really well. Deloach, Tatum Bethune has played really well. Secondary needs improvement. Special teams have been okay. Syracuse runs at 3-3-5. Which if you're, and to me, this defense is the perfect defense to run against. It's the perfect defense because 3 down linemen against Trey Benson in that offensive line, Trey Benson should at least have 100 yards for this game, minimum. He should be able to run through these guys with that type of defense because they're not like a dominating defense. So, it sets up well. 3-3-5 is usually good for pass defense. Just like any defense, if you have the personnel, you can dominate. No disrespect to Syracuse. I don't think they're going to dominate. I think they've got some good players on their team. But I just don't feel like those guys are going to be more physical than us. If we come out and play our game, I don't think that they're going to be able to stop us on the ground. And that's what we have to do. We have to get back to playing our game, which is what had us have the success that we had last season. And when I say we, I'm saying Florida State. Obviously, I don't play for the team or anything like that, but, I'm a fan, and I include myself in this stuff, but obviously I'm speaking from a fan perspective. I think sometimes people get that confused. I know I'm a fan. I know I'm just a average Joe. Nothing special. Jordan Travis, to me, has played very well. Certain situations when he is pressured or flustered, he will make bad decisions. And I've said this before, throwing the ball out of bounds or just taking a sack is not a bad play. A punt is not a bad play. Every possession, every play does not have to be a big play. Sometimes a smart play is the best play. And, Norvell has said it several times, take what the defense gives you. I agree with that to a certain extent. Obviously, if you're trying to win the game, you're going to try to manufacture a big play. I think where we get in trouble is when Jordan Travis tries to force a big play. So if we can somehow, some way stay away from that, I think we're going to be fine in this game and later on down the road. I know some experts have said that this schedule sets up pretty easy. I don't buy into that. I think all these games are going to be hard going down the stretch. I think Florida State can win all their games. But we have to play our game, and we have to be locked in. The Miami game against Georgia Tech, I mean, I could come on here and make 1,000 jokes about it, but, I don't. The coach just made a bad decision. I mean, they had the game won. So, and part of me is upset that they lost that game because I wanted them and some people may not subscribe to this. When the Miami Hurricanes and the Florida Gators are doing good, that helps Florida State. Believe it or not, that helps Florida State. So, I was disappointed because I wanted them to be undefeated when they played Florida State so we could beat them and ruin their season. We didn't want Georgia Tech to ruin their season. And it's every year with Miami, they'll start out hot and then they'll have a game like the Georgia Tech game. And then their season is just down the tubes. They'll go on a 3-4 game losing streak. And they got North Carolina coming up. So I know it's weird that I said I want Miami and Florida to do well, but only until they play us. I want them to have the best season until they play us. And then we beat them, and then that lifts our ranking and our status up so we can, pursue bigger and better things. So, and then after that, I don't care what they do. I'm actually wanting them to lose their bowl game if they go to a bowl game or, have no success after that. Only up until they play us. But how I say it helps Florida State is because you don't want Florida is rich in football talent. You don't want that talent going to Clemson or Ohio State or definitely Alabama. They've had a pipeline to Florida for the last 10, 12 years. So and Georgia. Okay. So if you can keep that talent at home, I would rather face Miami and Florida than, have those other programs benefit from. Because it's kind of contagious. If some of those guys are staying home, then more of them are going to stay home. If more of them are leaving, then more of them are going to leave. And it's just, it's just weird how that works with high school guys. But, if we can keep more of the talent in at those schools, I think it would definitely benefit us. So, again, I have Florida State 31-17. I want to see Trey Benson get at least 15 to 20 touches running between the tackles. Jordan Travis, I really don't care about passing stats. Just make good decisions, and we should win this game. So that concludes this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's available on YouTube. It's available on all It's available on all podcast platforms. Again, the 500 episode. I appreciate everyone that supported that. Rate, review, subscribe. It's a tremendous feeling. When just one person takes time out of their life to listen to me talk about Florida State football. So, thank you again for all the support. I do this for fun, not to be famous, not to be rich. So, again, I really do appreciate it. And as always, go Noles.